right, I'm going to really quickly show you from beginning to end my process for how I get these ready for recording. Okay, so I've got my GuitarPro project open. It's got everything written out. And the reason I do this, not only to help me learn it, but this is also the foundation that I use for setting time signatures, tempo, and any kind of changes in those time signature or tempo within a song, which a lot of the music we write has. So I also write the drums in here. I use this as the basis for what I'll take into Superior Drummer later on. And this is nice for getting a core understanding or core foundation of what the drums will be. I take it into Superior Drummer to really tweak all the articulations to make it sound more realistic. I've got all these things. The first thing I always do, come into File, Export, if I can get to the stupid thing, Midi, right? And then I will go ahead and create a folder for this to go into. And the Midi is probably the most important part for setting up recording because it automatically maps all of the time signatures, tempo changes, all that kind of stuff. So we've got that exported. The next thing I'll do is export all of these tracks as audio, as separate pieces. So create a file for each track. I will also just normalize it a little bit, not that it matters. And go back to that other folder that I just created. So that's going to take a moment to export all these. You can use them as reference while recording. So it's like scratch backing tracks. They won't be in the final mix. It's just for helping to record each instrument's part. Okay, so you can see here it has exported. I don't need this audio track. That's what I use to kind of write out. Maybe I'll create a separate video for that, but like I had original audio that I used to write out all the parts. I don't need that here. What I do need within here that I didn't already do is I need a click track. So let me just quickly create one. And basically what I do is I just solo that and export. I'm sorry, I can't see everything using the metronome. So if I turn on the metronome, that's just the standard click that comes along with whatever you set up as your time signature and tempo. So I'm going to go ahead and export that as audio as well with the metronome on. You can normalize this as well. I'm not doing each track because I already did the other ones. I just want to do the click track separately. And I'll just call that click. Make sure I go to the right folder. Basically, that's just an empty track with nothing on it, but it allows for the metronome to play and create that click track that we'll use. You could also use the built-in click within whatever DAW, but I just like to have this one rather than relying on the DAW. So we're done in GuitarPro. What I'm going to do now, I have a new file. Whatever you do, you want to make sure that your DAW settings are set up for 48 kilohertz, 24-bit wave. I'm going to bring this over on the screen. You also want to use whatever audio drivers for your interface. You're going to have to find those. And also just to make sure, like in Reaper, so you'd have to find this in your DAW, but in Reaper you go to Project Settings, and you just want to come in here and make sure that it's set to 24-bit. And also the project sample rate is 48,000 hertz. So here you got the media, wave bit depth, right? And project settings. I've already set these as my default, which is why when I opened it, you saw up here, it lists it as 48, 24-bit. And that's just kind of the standard. If you don't have it set to that and you try to import audio, Reaper will just kind of automatically convert it, or it'll show you an error. And actually, you'll see this. It doesn't really matter for backing tracks that we're using to record, but it does matter for actually recording the audio that we're going to be using. This is all set up. Go ahead and save this project. So exile. First thing I'm going to do is insert media file, but I usually just push the insert key. That's going to open up the file browser where I'm going to go find those tracks that I exported. The very first thing you do, import, and you can't really see the type on here, the MIDI. Before you do anything else, you need to insert the MIDI. Let's go open this up, and you'll see here it says import MIDI tempo map to project tempo map at 1.1.00. That's just saying like to change the timing of all of your project to match what the MIDI has encoded into it. So when I click that, you might have noticed really quick the lines here changed. It changed the BPM well. So I imported the MIDI, and then I'm going to import my backing tracks that I exported from GuitarPro. I'm going to put them on separate tracks, and these two things should line up. I'm also going to insert my click, do it on the new track, and make sure, this is the only tricky part, is you got to make sure that it's back at the beginning so that it lines up with everything. So I'm just showing that the DAW click and the click that I exported are lined up. Like I said, you can use the DAW one if you want to. I like having this printed out rendered click that matches everything that along with the other tracks, but you can hear they're the same. If I turn off, wait, sorry, let me. So that's really the basis of getting our project set up. A lot of times I will put these into groups, and that just means to kind of put them in some things call them folders. You can see it has a little folder icon. I'm just creating a new track, and then I'm selecting those items. So in this case, these are all MIDI. I call this parent MIDI. I call this one GuitarPro. And just grouping them like that kind of gets them out of the way. So if you need to really quickly like mute them, you don't have to worry about the MIDI, because unless you attach some kind of synth to play back the MIDI, it won't make a sound at all. I'm going to turn this off. It won't make a sound because there's no plugin that's telling it to actually play the sound, but it is there. Like all of the stuff is here, and actually I will be using these MIDI drums. I'll push this into Superior Drummer and be using this for the basis of programming the drums to be more realistic. So you got the click, and really at that point, that's where you kind of create your own tracks. One thing that we need to have is a direct, and that is just a straight direct from your bass to the DAW with no effects. I mean, you can do it through your amp at a minimum or whatever, but the idea is that gives us a little flexibility, and then you can do, if you want, just your normal audio. So that would be through your amp, or your preamp, your amp, any effects applied. The reason we need both is for flexibility. In ideal circumstances, I would be able to use the audio that has your amp sound, all your effects, and just mix that. But with a direct, that gives me more flexibility if I need to use plugins to sculpt the sound, blend the sound with what you have, or maybe, and this might sound harsh, but maybe the fully rendered sound with your amp and all effects just is really bad. And by bad, I mean it won't sit right in the mix, and instead of spending a lot of time trying to sculpt it, it could be easier just to take the direct, push it through some plugins, and kind of rebuild that sound within the DAW. Again, it really depends on the quality of the recording, but you do need both. Also because in the future, it kind of gives you some future proofing. 10, 20 years from now, if you decided, I want to remaster or remix this, you're not locked into whatever your board or amp limitations were at that time. If you've got a direct, it's kind of been proven to show that direct signal allows you the ability to do whatever you want in the future. Not that we'd ever do this again. I don't know. It's just good to have. So I always have a direct. I always have the full audio with amp and effects. And we leave it at that. One other thing, when you get in here, you're going to have to select where it's coming from. So again, your audio settings, in here, you're gonna have to find out which device you're using. You know, we have to use Audio. You'd have to find your specific driver for your interface. Right now I'm using a Focusrite, but for a lot of my guitars, I'm going to be using my Quad Cortex directly, and you'll see that that's in here as well. So this is all stuff that you're going to have to configure, and then yeah, you're going to have to decide which input it comes into. So in this case, they're both set to 1, but if you're recording both at the same time, so you've split your signal, one goes directly into the interface here, like that would be 1 I would say, and then the other one, if you've got the same thing, I've only got 2 inputs, you'd switch that to 2, and basically you have the 2 signals recording at the same time, so you don't have to re-record something twice. One of the other things in options, I like to have, yeah, okay, it's already in here. Let me just make sure that it actually works. Rather than creating separate tracks for multiple takes, you can actually do that within Reaper. So let me just show this real quick. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm recording while recording. So you can see that I'm here recording, right? Let's say that I have that, it's bass, I would save that take, but then I wanted to punch in, rather than creating a separate track and having to toggle between them, I have a setup that it just allows you to record in the same track, and then you'll notice that it creates a space for both of them. I don't know why it's doing this. This is new. Let me figure this shit out. Overlapping, add lanes, multiple planes play at once. You can see that I'm here recording. Allows you to record in the same. This is new. So I updated and play all lanes. There we go. You can see that I'm here recording a setup that it just allows you to record in the same track. You can see that I'm here recording a setup that it just allows. I apologize for the audio. Like, I'm just trying to get this done. Like, it's clearly echoing and all that stuff. But the reason you do this, again, is for being able to just quickly record and overlap stuff. The one thing that you'll want to note, if possible, when you've recorded stuff, is this also allows you to edit it. So if you've got some noise or whatever before your take starts, you can slice and cut and crossfade. You see I'm dragging this. This is the volume. You can like basically edit it so that it doesn't have weird overlaps all necessarily. Recording setup that it just allows you to record in the same track. Recording setup that it just allows. And that's to avoid like pops and clicks between your takes, which is something you want to be aware of. You might hear like the keyboard, and you want to make sure that you're not keeping that in your track. So there will have to be some editing. If you hear like noise or string noise or anything like that, try to, cut or edit it. The nice thing is Reaper snaps this stuff. If you hold shift, you can be loose, but it snaps. So if you're trying to have a nice crossfade or whatever, you can do that pretty easily, and it'll sound seamless, ideally. All right, I'm going to stop here, take a listen, and hopefully this has helped you out. I'm going to edit it down as well. All right.